Brew Strong is brought to you by Blickman Engineering, home of the top-tier brewing stand. Visit them online at blickmanengineering.com.
Brewers, it's time for the beer radio you've been looking for. This is the show that dispels myths, tackles the toughest topics, and makes no apologies for geeking out on beer. Hosted by two guys that drink before they think. Jamil Zainasheff and John Palmer. This is Brew Strong.
Hey, howdy, hey, my brewing brothers and sisters.
Greetings.
John, my lovely Cretan. I have another one of my Cretan friends here. Another JP. I've got another John here.
But now I'm channeling Tasty. I'm Instagramming and tagging people.
Yeah, he's on his phone. But you showed up too early. If you're Tasty, you wait until you're fashionably late for the show.
That's true. Right when the music starts to fade down.
Right.
That's when you come in.
That's when you come in.
That's the power move. I don't have that kind of power.
Yeah, I don't know that you have that kind of moves either. But,
it's just best if I don't even try.
Yeah. Well, that's how I live my life. That's my motto. It's best if I don't try, because then, yes. The only person disappointed is everyone else.
Nothing fails.
That's right.
Exactly.
But you look good.
Look good doing it.
Yep.
Doing absolutely nothing. Yeah, that's me. Speaking of looking good, how about our other John?
John Blickman, yes.
John Blickman, yes.
Always looking good.
He's
those fine products of his.
Yes. And as JP likes to say, innovating your brew day.
That's right. Wow, look at the memory on you.
Great.
That's pretty good, right?
That's a great marketing tag.
That's right. I tried to sell that to Blickman, and I think he gave me a middle finger.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, he thought your idea was number one.
That must have been what it was.
I think he's probably just doesn't want to pay for anything.
Yeah. If he holds up two middle fingers, is it number 11?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, no, it's one in the and one.
Well, he's got that 3/4 finger, so that was probably the one. To make up for it.
Yeah.
And hold up a couple.
Right. Yeah. I wonder how he lost that finger. What kind of sexual orgy was it? What kind of sexual maneuver was it?
I believe it involved large diesel machinery.
Yes.
A little power stroke.
They don't call it a Power Stroke diesel for nothing. Oh, all right. BlickmanEngineering.com. If you appreciate the Blickman pays for the show, so you don't have to go out and check out BlickmanEngineering.com. Lots of innovative stuff. They're there at the Homebrewers Conference and everything. It's lots of fun to.
Yeah, their booth is always amazing too.
They always got lots of goodies, and they're always there. Showing things off and all that.
A lot of good people there.
Right, a lot of good people there. Well, and that's exactly why we invited JP today.
To balance out the ratio of good people to not good people.
Right, exactly. it's the
left, right, and center. Yep.
Yes, exactly. I was talking with JP, and he mentioned that he came across, actually speaking of innovative stuff, he came across an innovative gadget. Shall we call it?
Yeah.
Gadget?
Yes. Yeah, for sure.
For beer, for serving clearer beer faster in your homebrew setup.
Yeah. As Palmer called it, it's a whiz bang. I mean, stealing that word.
It's a whiz bang.
It's whiz bang, yeah.
Absolutely. So we invite him in. I thought that was fascinating. He actually has his whiz bang here with him.
I do.
He is grabbing it and waving it in front of me now.
Yeah, you see that right there?
Yes, it's a floppy end on your whiz bang there.
It's a little damp.
Right, it's a little damp. All right, let's do this. Let's take a short break. When we come back, I want to hear about JP's innovative find.
Okay.
And then I think we're going to roll into clarity in general. But think it could be quite exciting.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, so stay tuned. We'll be back right after this.
Are you looking for a simple brewing system that's great for all grain brewing, but everything on the market seems to be full of compromises? Blickman Engineering has the answer. The Blickman Brew Easy All Grain Brewing System. The Brew Easy is a complete system with easy upgrades and a beautiful compact design, perfect for any size brewing location. At its core, the Brew Easy is built on two gorgeous Blickman Boilermaker brew kettles, a high-temperature March pump, and either a top-tier gas burner or the new Boil Coil electric heater. The Brew Easy adapter lid allows the pots to stack on top of each other, forming an efficient, strong, and compact brewing setup that comes in 5, 10, and 20-gallon batch sizes. Upgrade your Brew Easy system with full automated control by adding a Blickman Tower of Power temp controller, and make moving around easy with the Blickman Kettle Cart. The Brew Easy is modular. If you already own a Boilermaker kettle, you can build your Brew Easy by purchasing just the modules you need. The new Brew Easy all-grain brewing system. See it today at BlickmanEngineering.com and brew with Blickman quality on your new Brew Easy. Since the first time the Brewing Network microphones turned on, More Beer was behind it. More Beer sponsors the programming on the BN because, like you, they love brewing. And like the Brewing Network, they love sharing their knowledge. Morebeer.com isn't just a website to place your next equipment or ingredient order. Morebeer.com also gives you access to free beer information that will make you a better brewer. Go to morebeer.com and click into the Learning Center. You'll find podcasts, technical facts, video tutorials, and more, including access to The Buzz, More Beer's social network of more than 5,000 members. And some of them might even be crazier about beer than you are. Get over to morebeer.com today and take advantage of The Buzz, the forum, the Learning Center, and make sure you're signed up to receive the newest More Beer catalog. More Beer, bringing you absolutely everything for beer making. Attention, homebrewers. If you like making labels for your handcrafted awesomeness and wish more people could see how great you are, then check this out. Grog Tag, the makers of custom reusable labels, and craftbeerandbrewing.com are hosting the first ever National Homebrew Label Awards. The top 10 labels will be featured at the 2015 National Homebrewers Conference in San Diego to more than 5,000 attendees, and more than $2,500 in prizes will be awarded. If you've created a label at any time in the past year, you're eligible to enter. Grog Tag and Craft Beer and Brewing have teamed up with great sponsors like More Beer and the Brewing Network to make this competition a great one to enter. Submit your entries between March 1st and June 1st for your chance at fortune and glory at homebrewlabelawards.com. That's homebrewlabelawards.com. Submit your label entries today. Good luck, and we'll see you in San Diego.
Back to the beer guys that make other beer guys look like wine guys. Brew Strong.
All right, we're back, and we're lucky enough to have the inventor of the Clear Beer Draught System on the line with us, William Broderick. William.
Hello.
Hey, how you doing? Thanks for joining us. When JP was so excited about trying out your product, we thought, what better thing than to get you on the show and kind of wrap this into a whole thing about beer clarity. It's always a popular topic with our listeners.
First off, thanks for having me on. Been listening to the show for quite a while. A lot of my brewing knowledge came from here, and people just don't realize how spoiled they are today about the wealth of knowledge that's out there. I started in '92. The complete joy of homebrewing was about it. That and some stale extract. So it's come a long way.
Right. Well, and products to help you brew have come a long way as well. How did you come up with this device, shall I call it, this whiz bang to essentially, from what I understand, and correct me if I'm wrong here, JP, we've got a float that goes inside the keg, and you replace your long old dip tube, which goes to the bottom of the keg. Instead of that, it's got a short dip tube that's connected to the float, and so you're drawing your beer off of the top of the keg.
Exactly. So, yeah, you pull out your beer out, your beverage out tube, and you replace it essentially with a gas in. Mm-hmm. And then you connect that with some silicone tubing to the end of the float. And so the float stays at the top, obviously, and you can see here there's a little rod, a little stainless rod with a little opening, and that's where you draw from. So it's always right at the top. I don't know, what do you say, William, 3 inches or so of the beer?
No, I'd say, well, obviously, depending on the specific gravity of beer, but, somewhere around 1.5 inches,
okay.
At most.
Okay.
Below.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, yeah, below the level of the surface. And as Jamil said, but, what was the impetus behind this? And I went through the normal brewing progression, extract, full boil, then, partial mash, full mash, and then kegging. And, you start kegging beer and something became clear to me really quick. I'd get down to last 4 or 5 pints and I'd be, man, this beer is really tasting good. And then same thing would happen again. I'm like, okay, so what's going on here? Well, if you don't have the time and the space to store your kegs for 3 months and let them clear, I mean, I think you'd agree most of us are kind of impatient. We brew a beer, we want to drink it. And that was the impetus behind it. I was like, okay, I'm drawing off the bottom of this vessel, okay, and it just, light just went on. I said, why don't I draw off the top of the vessel instead? And, the first prototype I made was, it was a thrown together, hand hammered copper, I got it sitting here on my shelf. It's quite, it's kind of hilarious, but I mean, it worked. I mean, it was just amazing. And it's not, and as you guys know, it's not just about the clarity of the beer. I mean, clarity is nice for presentation, but you lose all the off flavors from yeast and tannins and all of that, so it to me, it was just a no-brainer.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense, and I've been using the Pico brew a lot, so I haven't been using my conical. I've been using carboys again, and I'm terrible at siphoning off my beer into my kegs. I'm usually picking up way more trub and yeast cake on the bottom because I want to get every
You want
inch.
to get as much beer as you can.
Yeah, absolutely, and especially because I'm only doing 2.5 gallons at a time, right? So I need every drop because I don't want to pay for beer. And I thought this would be a great time to try the clear beer out. And, I tell you what, I hooked it up in my keg, and it worked like a charm. I mean, my beer was cloudy anyway because of protein haze and because I'm kind of not really a good brewer. But, there's a difference, right, between tasting a beer that is cloudy because of yeast and cloudy because of the proteins and chill haze and all that kind of stuff that the guys are going to talk about on the show today. And I had none of the kind of garbage that you would kind of expect to have if you accidentally, we've all been there before, right? You kind of, your hand holding your racking cane and it slips out, or you, tilt the carboy a little too much and you get a little too much of that yeast in there. Everyone knows how that tastes. It's slick in the mouth and kind of funky tasting. And I got none of that. And, at the end of the keg, I opened the lid and I pulled out the clear beer, and you look down at the bottom and lo and behold, there's a bunch of yeast that really I've never seen before, right? Because the first couple pints, you're pulling off all that yeast. And then,
exactly.
And then the liquid finds the path of least resistance. It pulls out all the yeast and creates little channels and stuff. And then once you get to the bottom, you're sucking up all the rest of that stuff into whatever pint glass you're serving it into, depending on how much you have. And there was none of that. I got more clear beer from my keg than I have in the past.
Well, yeah, and that really. I mean, what's the goal of all those, homebrewers who are this avid about it? Okay, we want to produce the best beer we can. So, everybody, they spend so much time on wort production and getting the right yeast and, sanitation and pH. And, they worry about all these things. And then they rack it into a keg, stick a straw all the way down the bottom of the keg and start sucking on it. It makes no sense,
Yeah.
So draw from the top.
Well, and, the thing I like about this, William, as I look at it, it appears to be all stainless steel and, silicone tubing. So, 100% food grade, and you could, boil this thing if you want.
But you can pull it apart,
and,
too.
Yeah.
I mean,
looks like it easily comes apart.
Yeah, there's a screw right there. Look at that.
You know, easy to clean.
It's very easy to clean. That was all part of the the thought process behind it. You pull it off of the tube, get it out of the keg, and then your keg's easier to clean too. You don't have the long dip tube in the way, and and part of clarity again. People like to dry hop in their keg. Just throw your hop pellets in the keg. When they're done doing their job, they're going to settle to the bottom. And the float's sitting up top.
Right.
You're not going to clog your dip tube or anything like that.
Yeah, I've always been a fan of just tossing in hops into the hop pellets into the keg, and not going with a bag or anything like that. And you got to be real careful when you're doing that. And a lot of times you'll get hop bits up through the draw tube, and they'll stick in the poppet and make it stuck open, or no beer comes out, and you really got to work that thing, or you got to pull it out every once in a while, clean it, blow all that out.
I've had that happen with oak chips, like the kind of finer ones.
Right.
So when I was doing my oak chip, like oak nib beer, I would throw the nibs in and the oak too, and it would kind of make a little dam around the dip tube because they all fall to the bottom.
Right.
This alleviates that. You can definitely do a lot more with it inside the keg.
And for years, people recommended to get clearer beer out and not get all the yeast and not all that. They would cut their dip tubes in their corny kegs, like an inch or two shorter. And I always thought, well, first off, now I can't get all the beer out when I have a beer that doesn't have all this stuff.
Right, when you did something right.
Right.
Yeah.
And now to buy another dip tube is going to cost me like another $20. So I never cut my dip tubes at all.
Well, not to mention
with it different ways.
Yeah, if you ever used a tube cutter, it essentially kind of pushes in.
Right.
So it kind of makes the diameter of the circle smaller, and I know I'm not really describing it very well, but it kind of pushes in a layer, so you have to deburr it and scrape all that out, or it can create foaming. Can it be a little bit more foamy because it's hitting kind of a harsher surface?
Right.
Yeah, it's not smoothed out.
Could be a nucleation site. Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, if the diameter of the intake, that's why on that you'll see that oval cutout I have in the tube. There was some empirical stuff going on there. I had to figure out what size. You can create a low pressure zone there. Yeah, you have a foam bomb. So you don't. And and the other thing, also if you do sit a keg around and you do let it fall out, let's say for 3 months, you wouldn't dare move that keg at that point in time. You'd kill somebody if they touched your keg, and you can rack into this keg, and once it's carbonated, you can move. Like my home setup here. My conditioning where I carbonate is not where I serve my beer, so I always have to move the kegs around, and I don't worry about it one bit. I move the keg, and I'm pouring clear beer right away.
Absolutely. Jamil's sitting here playing with my tube.
The float could tip over or anything, but
no, it's the way it rotates around the intake tube. I've never had it tangle up. And I've drank a lot of beer through it. I've never had it tangle up, never had an issue.
Well, it's great because the pickup tube, when you first put it in and the float's at the top, the little oval that you were talking about is at the bottom. And then as the float transitions lower to the keg, the arm itself rotates, and it makes, it forces the intake portion, the intake oval, to the top, so it's not just right on top of the yeast cake, and the little mount has a kind of a foot, like a half-inch clearance or something. So, it's a lot of thought went into this thing, man. Good job.
And what's interesting is also you could use this in pretty much any size corny keg. You could use it in a 2.5, a 3, a 5, a 10. Just you replace your silicone tube with a right length piece for the keg you're in, and you're off and running. So like a one size fits all.
Yeah, and Jamil, like you were saying about the stainless construction and all that, and it was very important to me. That's all USA sourced materials. And that was
awesome.
That was just that was going to be from the very get go. So because I don't want to worry about any of those issues. It's all NSF. It's all approved materials. It's just a little product like that comes from, I got sources in, I think, 8 different states just for that little product. So, yeah. And then, and one other thing too, this doesn't have to be a blonde ale that you want clear, and that's one thing, I think a lot of people kind of miss out on, because the same off flavors will just go, I'm brewing a stout or a porter, I'm not worried about clarity, but those same issues are going to be there.
Mm-hmm. That's probably the one that bugs me the most is I see a beer full of yeast. The yeast has a kind of a bitter, taste to it that is quite unpleasant. So, and that's one of the things that'll start dropping. But if you don't want to wait for it to all drop out and then throw away the first pint or two to get it clear.
Which is kind of canon in the homebrewing industry. Like, it's just accepted that you're going to have to throw out the first couple pints.
Right. Yeah. I think it's a fascinating little invention there. And JP, he gives it his 2 thumbs up.
Yeah, I think that would be my rating.
Right.
We'll find something better. 2 bald heads up or something like that.
Two balls up. William, where can people pick this up?
Yeah, so I'm, just go online to clearbeerdraughtsystem.com, and the draft is spelled DARUGHT. And, I have a lot of really good information on the website. If you go to my frequently asked question page, just from all my experiences of using it and, how to maximize the use of it, I have a lot of good tips on there. And there's also a buy link right on that webpage. And, flat rate shipping, so if you get together with your buddies in your brew club and, order in volume and, it's flat rate shipping. Being such a small business, I get no volume discounts for shipping. So, that is my volume discount to the consumer. I just offer the flat rate.
Oh, there you go. Excellent.
It's a nice website, too.
Thank you.
All right. Well, thank you very much, William. Appreciate you joining us. Appreciate you inventing a great new product for homebrewers to enjoy. Let's do this. Let's take a short break. When we come back, we're going to talk more about clarity of beer and what it means and how to achieve it. JP, you stick with us and talk to us more about beer clarity. All right. We'll be back right after this.
Beer tasting games that train your palate, a brewery locator, and the brand new interactive beer style guide. These are just a few of the awesome things you'll find on craftbeer.com. The style guide is a beautiful example of technology in beer. Browse beer style families or turn on the automatic beer style finder and explore beer through color, bitterness, ABV, aroma, and flavor. It's really the coolest way to explore every beer style besides having them all in front of you. Go to craftbeer.com and click on beer styles to start the guide. Plus, enjoy the rest of craftbeer.com, the Brewers Banter blogs, beer education, how to host a beer tasting, and the invaluable draft quality manual. Tons of great content that makes your beer better. Visit the new craftbeer.com right now and explore the website that brings you all the passion, camaraderie, and creativity of the craft beer community. Craftbeer.com, celebrating the best of American beer. A few things happened 30 years ago.
ARPANET migrated to TCP/IP, and the Internet was born. Revenge of the Jedi was renamed Return of the Jedi and opened in theaters. Mila Kunis and Emily Blunt were born, beginning a rad fantasy in my mind.
But all of that pales next to the fact that HopTech opened its doors and began blowing homebrewers right out of their mash tuns. HopTech doesn't fuck around. Real people shipping awesome shit straight to you. Their new website is fast and easy to navigate. Or just call 800-379-4677 and let badass bitch Jade and the gadget guy Roberto blow their warm load of customer service all over you. So visit the site or visit the store in Dublin, California, and support those that support you. Get your brewing on at hoptech.com.
Hey, my brewing brothers and sisters. This is Jamel Zanishev, and I want to tell you about Heretic Evil Twin. You might be familiar with my homebrew recipe, which uses massive late hopping to create a balance between the malty sweet and the hoppy bitter, along with an outrageous malt and hop character. I wanted a beer with the same bold hop and malt character, so we played around with the homebrew recipe until we were able to make a great commercial version too. We've created a beer rich in malt character, full of caramel, toast, biscuit, and an ever so subtle roast note. On top of that, we piled in an insane amount of Citra and Columbus hops at the end of the boil, as well as in dry hopping. This damn-the-cost approach to hopping gives Heretic's Evil Twin a great blast of citrus and tropical fruit that can't be matched by any other hop. The result is a bold, malty, hoppy, but easy-drinking beer. This is our top seller, our flagship beer, and I couldn't be prouder of it. Cheers.
To find Heretic beers near you, click on Find Some at hereticbrewing.com.
Williams Brewing is your online resource for prompt delivery of quality home brewing supplies. Since 1979, Williams Brewing has offered the finest equipment and the freshest ingredients, backed by the best customer service in the business. Do you like to mash using efficient fly sparging, but would like an easy way to heat your strike and sparge water? Enter the new Brewer's Edge electric mash water heater, a plug-in, anywhere, precisely controlled heater for strike and sparge water. Ditch the fumes and second burner and make mashing easy. Go to williamsbrewing.com today and browse their vast selection. That's williamsbrewing.com. Orders placed by 4 p.m. Pacific Time weekdays ship the same day. Brewing is easy the Williams way.
Back to the two guys that know how to turn beer into beer. This is Brew Strong.
All right, we're back. We're talking clarity here with my two JPs. And one of my JPs does the Dr. Homebrew show.
That's right.
On this same brewing network.
That's me, right? That's not...
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. It is you.
That's right.
Yes. And
it's a fun show.
Do you have beers that come in for Dr. Homebrew that have clarity problems?
Yeah.
Yeah?
I didn't mean to laugh. Yes. Among other things. Yes.
Right.
Yes, that's correct. We do.
Yeah, there you go. And so you give them advice on how to clear up their beer.
Yeah, well, in interest of clarity, I don't give them advice at all. Brian and Lee do, who are they're really the brains behind Dr. Homebrew. They're they're both master BJCP judges, and they're easy on the eyes. Also,
they're the talent, if you will.
Just pull the shade.
So you've been working on yours, so you're just like a master BJ.
That's right. I'm a master BJ.
You don't have the CP.
The rest yet. No, I don't.
Okay. All right.
No, I don't.
There you go.
But yes, we do give them a lot of advice on clarity and stuff like that.
Well, and a very entertaining and educational show here on the Brewing Network. Check it out, Dr. Homebrew.
We'll have 2 live episodes tomorrow night.
There you go.
That's right, tomorrow night on the Brewing Network.
The chat room is very enthusiastic about that product.
Oh, really?
I want to buy it. It looks great.
Have they all been drinking? Is that
Anytime our listeners are enthusiastic about anything.
Right, they've been drinking.
They're not complaining about the website anymore?
Not currently.
That's good. That's good.
Good way to remind them. So John, tell us about clarity. What fundamentally? I understand what clear beer is, but what fundamentally is the problem or problems that are causing a lack of clarity?
Sure. Well, too clear or not too clear? Haze is the issue.
You're a dork.
Haze is a broad term for the turbidity in beer. Turbidity meaning cloudiness. There are biological hazes caused by microbes, both yeast and suspended yeast and bacteria, and non-biological hazes, which are caused by particles such as starches, glucans, pectins, proteins, and polyphenols. Colloidal hazes, that term refers to one substance being suspended within another, such as a protein polyphenol haze, where the two of them have kind of joined together to create a visible haze. So you have these different types of hazes that can cause your beer to be less than brilliant, to be slightly cloudy or hazy. And each of them typically needs a different treatment method or treatment agent to combat it.
Mm-hmm. Now, much has been said, and actually, somebody talked to you about, was writing an article about, clarity in beers today and cloudy IPAs or something. And you threw me under the bus saying that, Jamil hates anything that isn't clear, which is incorrect. I'm okay with a bit of haze in certain beers, like, something heavily dry hopped, a slight haze. But unfortunately,
I didn't word it that way. People
today have taken hazy to mean opaque. Looks like milk. There's something you can't see through it. You can barely,
There's a difference?
Yes.
Okay.
And so a friend of mine knows that I've look, you should try and make your beer relatively clear as a brewer, and there's these breweries out there and these homebrewers out there
Name four
that are
right now.
serving beer that is so clouded with particulate matter or yeast or whatever, and the taste is suffering because of it. There's so much of that crap in there that it doesn't taste good. And they're like, oh, no, it's craft beer. It's,
It's artisanally handmade.
Right.
Yes.
And it's like, well, it looks like orange juice. It's got the clarity of orange juice, really thick orange juice. You should be trying for at least the clarity of Tang, not full-on pulp orange juice.
Why is that? Why, as a professional brewer now, once a semi-respected home brewer, what makes a brewery release a beer that's not clear, perfectly or otherwise? What is that?
I think either a lot of them don't know what they're doing, or they think it's okay. I don't know. So a friend of mine sent me a picture of a beer he got at this one place, and it looked like orange juice. You couldn't see through it. This was their IPA, and he asked the server. He said, "Is the beer always look like this?" And the server said, "No. A lot of times they It ends up clearer, and so this is the first time in a long time they've gotten it perfect, with as cloudy like they want." It's just like, what in the world?
Maybe they don't use hops. They just rely on the yeast bite to make it bitter.
I guess
some sort of weird gruit.
That's the weird thing is, like JP's saying, the yeast gives a bite, gives an unpleasant, taste and texture to the beer, and if your beer is suffering clarity that badly, you're going to end up with a less than pleasant beer to drink. A little bit of haze, I mean, that's all right.
Well, that was the point I wanted to make, Jamil. I mean, just what you're saying, yeah. There's haze and then there's orange juice, as you put it.
So
a white IPA is not a wit, with in terms of clarity.
Right.
Correct.
There you go. All right. So how does one go about dealing with these issues?
Well, like I said, each cause of haze has a particular treatment that works best. If we look at, say, starch hazes, from incomplete mashing or excess glucans or pectins. Pectins can become in a fruit beer. These are all types of polysaccharides, and so those kind of hazes can be dealt with by adding amylase enzymes like Beano. Will help break up that haze. Now, it also helped break up, your dextrins and so on as well. But that's what these agents are that cause these hazes are polysaccharide. So there's one avenue for addressing them for that type. If, of course, you have a bacterial haze from an infection or maybe a bacterial haze just, in a sour beer, well, then that becomes more of a maturation issue. That beer will eventually clear, but it may take several months. And so, maturation, cold conditioning will help drop those hazes in that case. And then we get to the real common causes of haze. And first is yeast, as you mentioned. Suspended yeast in a beer can make it, cloudy, and you'll definitely get a kind of a yeast bite to the flavor. And then you have protein hazes, which you can get from a high proportion of flaked adjuncts, as flaked barley, flaked wheat, and as well as under modified malt and so on. You get a lot of excess protein in the beer. A poor boil can be another cause of that kind of protein haze, because if you don't get a good rolling boil, you don't get a good hot break, then you end up with a lot more protein going into the beer. And then the last category is polyphenols or polyphenol hazes. And polyphenols can come from the grain husks. They can also come from the hop cones. And especially when we're dealing with IPAs, where you have put in a lot of dry hops, whether it's pellets or whole cone hops, all that extra hop cone in the batch, especially after the boil, can throw a lot of polyphenol haze. So
that's why I think an IPA can have a bit of a haze to it. But you can still see through it.
Yeah. It should be a warm, hazy, sunny afternoon, not
not a blizzard.
Or a hurricane or something like that. Yeah.
Well, and there are also, you mentioned enzymes, but there's also finings, in the kettle, and there's finings in the fermenter, and there's, the post-ferment finings as well, correct?
Correct. Yeah, these three types, the yeast, the protein, the polyphenol, all have common methods, which we refer to as finings, for taking care of them. You want to take a quick break and come back to those,
what you need to get a beer? You take a wee? What's going on, John?
Well, I'm staring at this word polyvinyl pyrrolidone.
That's easy for you to say.
EVPP, and it's too many P's.
Right.
Has to go to the bathroom.
John has to take a pee. While John's going wee, we'll all get a beer. So we'll be back right after this.
Your support of the Brewing Network means everything to us. We couldn't produce shows without you. And we love giving you something extra for that support, like Brew Your Own magazine. You already know it's a great brewing magazine full of recipes, equipment how-tos, discussions of beer styles, and brewing techniques. Whether you're new to brewing and just starting out, or you're an old pro, you'll always learn something from the articles in Brew Your Own. Plus, there are amazing special issues like plans for building a Brutus 10 system, 250 classic clone recipes, and the Homebrewer's Answer Book. Brew Your Own magazine and BYO.com are awesome resources for any brewer, whether for yourself or as a gift. When you subscribe or resubscribe from the Brewing Network homepage, you directly support programs like this. Get a great magazine and support the Brewing Network. Subscribe to Brew Your Own right from thebrewingnetwork.com.
Say hello to my little friend.
You've heard about White Labs Pure Pitch yeast. Pure Pitch is yeast grown right in its final packaging. That means yeast that has never been exposed to the environment. And White Labs Pure Pitch yeast for homebrewers is now available to everyone at homebrew retailers nationwide. Easy to use, perfectly sized, and ready to pitch. White Labs yeast, packaged using their FlexCell process, ensures the purest yeast on the market. Visit whitelabs.com to learn more about Pure Pitch, FlexCell technology, and how it's created. Then visit a homebrew retailer near you for your own perfectly sized package of Pure Pitch yeast. And you can say hello to your own little friend. www.whitelabs.com.
When I order a beer, I want my server to know more about it than I do. I want someone who enjoys good beer and loves helping others enjoy it too. I want someone who knows how to pour a perfect pint for every beer style. I want a Cicerone.
The Cicerone Certification Program is creating the type of people who help you enjoy great beer. Home brewers and craft beer lovers know beer is more flavorful and complex than ever, and it takes some serious knowledge to store and serve beer right. Cicerones know beer. There are 3 levels in the Cicerone program: Certified Beer Server, Certified Cicerone, and Master Cicerone. Cicerones are truly the sommeliers of beer. The best beer locations have a Certified Cicerone on staff. Relaxed and unpretentious. Cicerones are tested on storing and serving beer, beer styles, flavor and tasting, the brewing process and ingredients, and pairing food with beer. Learn more about your next beer guide at cicerone.org. Certified Cicerone, because it takes top talent to present a perfect pint.
Learning to brew has never been so disgusting. This is Brew Strong.
All right, we're talking clarity and findings and haze.
Faction Pale, doing it right.
Whiz bang.
Whiz
Yep,
bang.
Faction Pale, nice and clear. Good job there, Roger. All right, so we were talking about findings and PPP, PV.
Among others, yes. We've got several finding agents available to us, both home and professional. Some of the most common are to help clear yeast in cask ales, and those probably heard of isinglass, otherwise known as small fish guts. And that is that's when they finish processing it and ripping the guts out of those little fish, boiling them up and refining them. You have 100% pure collagen, and collagen is a material that has a negative charge or positive charge with respect to the yeast, and so they electrostatically help the yeast bind together and settle out. Works very fast. Gelatin is another similar agent, and it also is a form of collagen and helps the yeast settle out.
So if you were to get collagen injected into your lips, would that help like strain the yeast out while you drank beer?
Yeah, if you got the collagen injection, you can't drink a wit beer, I think, is the rule.
It would just like stack up on your lips.
I think it would.
Make your lips hang low. Settle out.
All right. So, isinglass, there's the prepared stuff, and then there's the stuff where you got to put it in a shear blender, and you got to, temperature and acidity, and that could be kind of tricky. Gelatin seems like a fairly easy product to use.
It is, yeah. Basically, for 5 gallons to put in a keg, you use roughly half of a Knox gelatin packet. Mm-hmm. The unflavored Knox gelatin. Don't use lime. I suppose you could, but no. Use the unflavored Knox gelatin. Use about a half a packet. Sprinkle that into some cold water in a glass measuring cup, and then microwave it for a minute to get it hot. Finish stirring it in.
You don't want to get it too hot. You don't want it to boil.
Right. You don't want it to boil. You do want to get it hot, though. Mm-hmm. And
you want it to bloom.
Once it's fully dissolved, then you can add some more cool water to it and kind of bring it back down to, just warm. and then add that directly to your keg, and it'll flow out and clarify the beer within overnight.
It essentially forms kind of a net of collagen that, as it drops through the beer, it clings to all these things, or things cling to it, and it all becomes heavier and bigger and accelerates and drops to the bottom and forms a mass there at the bottom.
Right.
I bet you that would be good to use with the Clear Beer Draught System.
Yes.
Huh?
Yeah, that would really help. Pull all that stuff to the bottom, and then you'd be pulling from the clear beer at the top.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, and you wouldn't have to wait overnight. Yeah, I mean, give it a few hours. The top starts clearing pretty quick when you add gelatin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can't have a party, but you can definitely have a pint or two of your homebrew.
Have a party.
Yeah. Well, coming in with the old way with the dip tube and so on. Yeah, you would have to kind of wait overnight for that mass to really kind of compact, and then you'd pour one cloudy glass, and then then you'd be good after that. With the new Clear Beer system, you could be pulling clear beer right away because you're pulling it from the top.
Well, and one thing about using these kinds of finings post-ferment is that you want to kind of use the right amount. If you don't use quite enough, the beer isn't going to clear as well. If you use too much, you can get what's called fluffy bottoms.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
The Kardashians have that, I think, right?
Yes, Kardashians use far too much gelatin and have fluffy bottoms.
They have too much collagen, that's for sure.
Yeah.
And what fluffy bottoms is, you use too much of this stuff, it's not going to form a nice solid cake at the bottom. It'll end up just kind of sitting in its gooey net-like material up in the beer, and then you're going to waste a lot of beer trying to get it to clear and to get past that. So, often as humans, we think, if a little is good, more is better, and so we tend to throw in a lot of stuff. So you gotta watch that as well.
Yeah. So common rule of thumb is about a teaspoon of gelatin, and there's usually about 2.5 teaspoons in a packet, about 7 grams. So divide 7 by 2.5, and you get roughly 2.5 or 3. So somewhere in there is about the 2.5 or 3 grams of gelatin per 5-gallon batch is about right.
Mm-hmm.
If you use gelatin in a corny keg, in a regular corny keg, do you have to modify the bev out dip tube at all? Is the cake of gelatin going to obstruct or possibly be higher than your dip tube?
It could, but I mean that's where you're doing the circumcision of the dip tube to pull it up an inch off the bottom or so. The first glass may have some gelatin in it, but then after that, everything stays in place pretty well, and you're usually pouring clear beer after that.
Okay, all
right, there you go. All right.
So that's a yeast haze.
Mm-hmm.
Now, for protein hazes and protein and polyphenol hazes, Irish moss, you use in the boil, and that is, one that but the only finding they actually do use in the boil. And you add Irish moss or carrageenan, the last 10 minutes, 15 minutes of the boil, and that helps, your hot break protein to really coagulate and settle out. And so when you're after the boil, when you're drawing the wort out of the pot, you're leaving more of the hot break behind.
Mm-hmm. Well, and another thing about that is you might pre-bloom your Irish moss in a little hot water before adding it, because it can take a while for it to hydrate and kind of bloom and work like that. Here's another interesting story. I used Whirlfloc. Little tablets when they came out, right?
Yep.
And I was telling a friend of mine how great it was and that I used Whirlfloc, and he said, hey, all right, you use Whirlfloc, I'll use Whirlfloc. And so he emails me later on, and he goes, "Oh, you and your stupid Whirlflock, you ruined the whole beer.
What?
That Whirlflock is crap." I'm like, "What?"
I guess high.
Yeah, I'm like, "Well, what the hell did you do?" And I'm like, "How much did you use?" And he's like, "Well, I used like 3 tablets." I'm like, "Well, you're supposed to use like 1 for 10 gallons, so you made a 5-gallon batch with 3. That's too much." And then and then he also used Irish moss. And it was just like the entire beer was fluffy bottoms, So, yeah, again, it's the syndrome of, well, if a little is good, then the more is better as well. Whirlflock, that's a handy way to do it. There's also like Copper Clear, which is a kind of another similar type of product, and a couple others.
Product.
Yep. So a lot of different options there, and that certainly helps. Yeah, if your wort's not turning nice and clear during the boil, then you're probably not getting an appropriate boil. You're probably not getting enough agitation. You probably have not either properly converted all your starches, or you've not included enough copper finings.
And it could be your water.
Yeah. Oh, you and your water book, John. Jesus Christ.
Cross marketing. I think I have a water issue because everything I do is cloudy.
Your water comes out
calcium. If there's not enough calcium in the water, or you're not adding enough calcium salt to the mash and the boil and so on, and I mean 50 ppm minimum, then you can have haze and flocculation issues where there's just not enough electrostatic attraction between these various compounds to pull everything together and settle out. So calcium helps a lot.
Is a key factor in flocculation.
Yep. And lastly, the polyphenols. There's a nifty little plastic dust called the PVPP, and interestingly enough, chemically, this polyvinyl polypyrrolidone, there we go, polypyrrolidone, attracts the polyphenols better than the sites that the proteins do. So it's really good at helping pull polyphenols out of solution.
And those are from hops, right? Polyphenols?
Well, you can get polyphenols from the hops. You can get it from the grain husks, variety of sources.
Okay.
But especially the case in IPAs where you're doing a lot of dry hopping, after the boil, so that there's all the hot break and cold break has already happened, and there's nothing really to no mechanical action, as it were, to pull these out of solution. So the PVPP helps bind these sites and helps the polyphenols flocculate and settle out. You can also buy products that incorporate silica gel or carrageenan with the PVP, so you get an agent that acts on the polyphenol and another agent that acts on the protein, and so you get kind of a 1-2 punch kind of thing to help clarify the beer that way. Silica gel, as opposed to, say, Irish moss, in the way it acts, it targets the haze-forming proteins over the head-forming proteins. So, whereas if you use too much Irish moss or use other protein scavengers, you can affect your head retention. The silica gel won't affect your head retention in the beer, but silica gel and PVP need to be filtered out of the beer before consumption, so they're generally used at the commercial level rather than the homebrew level.
Mm-hmm. Okay. All right. Are they available at the homebrew level?
Yes.
In case people are masochists?
Yeah. Well, and there was somebody at the conference that gave a talk on, stuff that'll kill you in homebrew. Mm-hmm. And I think he talked about those specific things as well.
Oh, really?
And it was like, you'd have to drink a whole bottle and Alcohol's the dangerous thing for you in beer.
That's right.
Yeah.
So I thought that was interesting as well.
Alcohol and trees. Yeah.
Trees.
If you're Sonny Bono, I guess.
Right. And you're
too soon.
Too soon. It's already too soon.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Well, great, John. I think here's what we're going to do. I think we're going to wrap up this show. And if you're listening live, stay tuned, because the next show we're going to do Q&A about clarity and haze in beer.
Nice.
We're going to have kind of a clarity haze-gasm.
Yeah. And then clean it up afterwards, because that's what you do.
Right.
You be respectable for the space.
Spilled fluids in the studio, we're supposed to clean up.
Right.
And there's Chris Braden sitting right there. All right. He works for me, you know.
I don't know that.
He's part of our sour barrel program.
Nice.
Him and his lovely wife.
Part of your cleanup crew?
No, he's actually our barrel program manager.
Oh, really?
Yes.
That's cool. Is that why he doesn't have any hair? You have to shave him?
Right. He's going to be perfectly clean. Perfectly clean. So the sours that will be at the Hop Grenade anniversary party.
Oh.
Chris has had a part in it. There you go.
That's
all
awesome.
Right. So I get distracted. That's why they shouldn't have a window here.
They should put blinders on you, like a horse.
Like a horse.
Yeah.
There's many things about me like a horse. My breath, my hair,
the long face,
the long face. Yes.
Yeah.
And my tail.
And
that's all the same.
Giant cloven hooves.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. There you go. That's why I'm like a horse. All right. That's it for this show. Another fine job. Thanks to William Broderick for joining us and having an innovative idea that helps.
The whiz bang.
The whiz bang.
Yeah.
And thanks to our great sponsor, Blickman Engineering. Talk about innovative.
Yeah.
Innovating your brew day. Huh?
Absolutely.
That's a great company with lots of fancy ideas for. I'm surprised he didn't come up with the whiz bang.
I know, right?
Yeah.
Well, he's working on other things.
He's
That's
working
true.
on other things.
His things involve wires and a lot more stainless. So there's definitely a need for all of that.
A lot more nuts.
Yes, you need more nuts in your life.
A lot more nuts.
Brewers.
Blickman Engineering. A lot more nuts. That's his new marketing.
A lot more nuts.
A lot more nuts.
Just grammatically incorrect and everything.
Right.
Yeah. Clear Beer Draught System.
All right.
Oh, that was great.
So check out our sponsors. Check out the Brewing Network store, thebrewingnetwork.com/store. There's all sorts of goodies there. Hats, shirts, glassware, all sorts of growlers, and all sorts of interesting stuff. And when you buy that stuff, the profits go to the bottom line of the Brewing Network and help keep shows like this on the air. Check out Dr. Homebrew with my good friend JP leading the way there. That's an excellent show. And I urge you to listen and listen often. Until then, everybody, brew strong.